Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, everyone's doing great. Inshallah, your week was amazing. Inshallah. Inshallah, we are all still taking social distancing as serious as possible. Um, we got to be careful for ourselves and everyone around us, inshallah, as best as we can. So please keep that in mind. Today, we're going to do something a little different, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I want everyone that is viewing or will be viewing, I want you to imagine with me some of the things I'm about to mention. I want you to imagine with me. And I want you to imagine that it's Thursday night and you've just gotten yourself prepared to call it a day, call it an evening. If you have children, you've put your children to bed. You've already cleaned up the kitchen. Everyone's had dinner. Everyone's prepared themselves to go to bed, to get some rest, to get some sleep. And everyone goes to sleep. And you awake. You pray Fajr before the sun rises. And you go back to sleep. And then you wake up. And when you wake up, you notice something different. When you look out your window, you notice that the sun has risen on the western side of the sky. Meaning it didn't rise on the east like it normally did, but it rised on the west. So you started your evening out Thursday night. This is Friday morning. And you notice that the sun has risen on the western side of the sky. And then the reality hits you that this is the last day of life. And loose is the beast that's stamping people, right? This beast is loose. And we also know, and again, we as far as the order of these things, the ulama differ, right? But I want you to imagine this for a second. And then this fire appears out of Yemen. And this fire is gathering people. It's driving people to one central location. And that sun is still in the sky. And we don't know how the sun will happen. We just know that it rises on the west. But imagine for a second that as it's setting on the side that it would normally rise on, which is the east. And right before it goes down, right, if you ever see a sunset, when we're watching it, you see it's slowly going down, and it finally hits the horizon, and it goes down, and then it's no longer there, right? So imagine you're at those final moments of the sun being in the sky, and they go down, and it's going down, and it's going down, and it's going down, and then it disappears. And then you hear this awful sound. You hear this terrible sound, right? The sound is so awful. The sound is so terrible that it knocks trees out of the roots. It blows away the clouds that may have been in the sky. It causes the ocean to boil and just terrible things happen. That the mountains that are so mighty and big and huge are knocked to dust from this one sound. And this sound comes from the angel Israfil, who the Prophet ﷺ had said, when seeing him once, he said that his eyes looked like two bright stars. His eyes look like two bright stars. And he has already drawn in his breath. His head is tilted back. He's already drawn in his breath. And his eyes are fixed on the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, waiting for the signal to blow into the horn. This is what he's waiting for. Imagine this for a second. And so that sound comes from that horn that he blows. It's an awful sound. Everything in its path, which is all of us, we all die, pass away. And then imagine that for a period of time, everything is gone, finished, dead. And then Allah causes it to rain a certain type of liquid that then materializes our bodies. right? And then we hear the horn, we hear another horn again, and that sound wakes everybody up. And everybody starts to rise. And when they rise, they see the earth has been flattened. There are no trees. Everything looks decimated and destroyed. It's a horrible point of view. It's a horrible thing that they're seeing. It is so horrible that we know that a child who died as a child, right, has no sins, has nothing to worry about, right? This child will see the setting, the scene, and know that this is the day of judgment, and his hair will immediately turn gray from the stress of that day, right? This is how real this day. It happens literally the day after Thursday. It could be any Friday. And then we're all rising and we're all lining up. Now I want you guys to imagine this scene for a second. We are talking about people from the time of Adam alayhi salam until the last man on earth. They are rising. No matter where you were, no matter where you passed away, no matter how you died, it does not matter. You will be resurrected on this day. So imagine how many people that must be. Imagine how stressful that must be. There is no room. You're not, it's packed. So then your family starts to look for you. They start to find you. And your brothers, your sisters, your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, your mother, everyone. They come to you and they find you, and we're cutthroat with each other. There's no love now. The love is gone. We're begging each other for deeds. Give me deeds. I need your help. Give me this. Remember I did this. Remember I did that. Give me, give me, give me. No one cares about anybody. Only themselves. Your own mother is willing to trade you at this moment to make sure, to ensure that she has Jannah. This is how terrifying this day is. So we're all lining up, all of us, and it is beyond billions of us. It is so many people you can't count. And it's not just the people. It's also the jinn are there, animals are there. We are all there in account for that day. And we're all just waiting. And we're all just standing. And everybody's uncomfortable. And everybody is tired. There are also people on that day. We'll get to those people. But imagine, right? You're standing with all of these people. And you're waiting. And you're waiting. And you're waiting. Months go by. And you're still waiting. Nothing is happening. People are just assembling. A year might go by. 2 years might go by. Nothing happens. People are just assembling. And so the people get anxious. That's what happens, right? When you know something big and major and somewhat scary is about to happen, people start to get anxious, and they get so anxious, even though they're worried about themselves, even though they're worried about their deeds, they just want the day to start. So what do? They go to Adam alayhi salam. They say, "Yeah, Adam, you were the father of mankind. You were the first of creation. You're our father. Please go to Allah. Ask him to start the day of judgment." Adam will remember that he ate from the tree, and he will say, "Get away from me. I have my own deeds to worry about. Go to Ibrahim." And they will go to Ibrahim, and he'll say, "Ibrahim, you were the friend of Allah. You were his most beloved. You were one of those individuals that Allah called you a Khalil. Please intercede for us." And he will remember the times when he made up those stories about about destroying the idols and other things like that. And he will tell them, "Get away from me. I have to worry about my own deeds. Go to Musa." And they will go to Musa alayhi salam and say, "You spoke to Allah," and name all of these wonderful things involving Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam will remember his deeds and how he killed the man, and he will say, "Get away from me. Go to Isa alayhi salam." And the people will go to Isa alayhi salam, and they will say, "You, Isa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created you. You didn't have a father." And you mention all of these amazing things about Isa alayhi salam. And Isa alayhi salam will remember what? He will remember that people used to worship him. And he will tell the people, "Get away from me. I have enough to worry about. Go to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." And the people will go to the Prophet ﷺ and mention all the wonderful things, and the Prophet ﷺ will tell the people, do not worry, I will go to Allah and intercede for you. And this will then start the Day of Judgment. Among the people who are assembled on the Day of Judgment will be people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes them the size of ants. He makes them the size of ants. Now you can imagine if you are the size of an ant on the Day of Judgment, where there's an infinite amount of people, animals all over the place, all of these different things, that you will be crushed on that day, stepped on. People will not even see you. You'll be stepped on by multiple different people. Why? Because you used to be arrogant. And so Allah will make the arrogant on the Day of Judgment the size of ants, so that they could be humiliated and have even a harder day on the Day of Judgment. Allah also will have Jahannam brought on the Day of Judgment so that the people can see it. And Jahannam, the Prophet ﷺ said that it is pulled by 70,000 different chains, and each chain has 70,000 angels manning that chain, pulling it. The Prophet ﷺ said once they heard a loud bang while he was with the Sahaba, they heard a loud bang, and he said, this is a rock that fell and has been falling in Jahannam for 70 years. So I want you to think about this for a second. Jahannam is so massive that it is pulled by 70,000 different chains, each one of them manned by 70,000 different angels, and it takes 70 years for a rock to reach the bottom of Jahannam. This is how massive this place is. Right? So, this is before the people. And then on the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a certain group of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not purify, will not look at, will not save them or help them on the Day of Judgment. These people are, and these are the people who are ignored on the Day of Judgment. The one who concealed the verses of Quran will not be purified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. The one who sold their religion for worldly gain. Subhanallah. How many of the Muslims, unfortunately, how many of us are looking to do the haram, are dealing with the haram just so we can make some money, selling our religion just so we can make a few dollars to spend on this or to spend on that, to spend on our families, whatever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about these individuals who took their deen, who took His commandments and took them for lightly and got rid of them for what? For a little bit of money or worldly gain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not, He will ignore these people on the Day of Judgment. He will not purify these people on the Day of Judgment. And then He also says, one who drags their clothes out of pride and arrogance, right? And we know this famous hadith, right? That we're not supposed to drag our clothes on the floor, and some of us still do that today because we think it makes us look cool for whatever reason. Do not drag your clothes out of pride and arrogance on the ground. And then also one who sells things on false oaths. Think about this for a second. How many of us do this, unfortunately, and may Allah forgive us and keep us away from this behavior, right? We say, Wallahi, this cost me this, or this cost me that, or Wallahi, this is the finest fabric you'll ever see, or Wallahi, this will last you for this amount of time, just so we can have people feel comfortable spending a certain amount of money for a particular item that we're selling them. And Allah is saying, these people who use my name, who say, Wallahi, I will ignore them on the Day of Judgment. I will not purify them on the Day of Judgment, right? And then, a man, we also know one who he gives his allegiance to the leader out of a benefit, right? He's not loyal to the leader. He only cares about what benefit he can get. Or an old man who is older in his age and he's still committing zina, right? Someone who is old, 40, 50, 60, whatever, and he's still doing the haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying He will not look at these individuals. A king that lies. A king is someone who has power, that Allah has blessed with power. He doesn't need to lie. This is another individual that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not purify. And so many others, right? But then there's a group of people that you will see on the Day of Judgment, And inshallah, we're among that group, right? A group of people, and the only group of people who will have the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know this, right? We know that the sun is so hot on that day that it is literally, some people will be drowning in their sweat. Some people will have sweat up to their ankles, some up to their knees, some up to their necks, some who will just be overran by sweat. Why? Because the sun is literally over our heads. You know, we've had a lot of hot weather these last few days here in Chicago, right? SubhanAllah. Imagine that times 10 or worse. And you're sitting in that heat, waiting and waiting and waiting, right? SubhanAllah. We would love shade on that day, and the only shade is under the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that He will shade 7 individuals, right? And those individuals, just to name them really fast and hope that we will be a part of those individuals. The hadith goes, there are 7 whom Allah will shade in His shade on the day when there is no shade except His shade. A just ruler, a youth who grew up in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the mighty and the majestic, a man whose heart is attached to the masjid, 2 men who love each other for the sake of Allah, meet and then part for the sake of Allah, a man who is called by a woman of beauty and position but says to her, I fear Allah. This is another man, and a man who gives charity and hides it, such that the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. Meaning that he gives his charity, he doesn't go out and publicly announce it to everyone. He's just giving his charity on the low, so nobody knows about it. Allah is saying this individual has my shade on the Day of Judgment. And the last is a man who remembered Allah in private so much that his eyes would weep. He would shed tears. And this is, at a time, for instance, something like Tahajjud, when you're up at night and you're thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're crying and you're weeping and you're asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, you will be shaded on the Day of Judgment. There are also people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not make feel the grief. He will not make them feel the grief of the Day of Judgment. And these are people who, when their brother owed them some money, or when their brother was supposed to give them something, but they were patient, they kept patient with that individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because you made it easy for your brother, because you made it something that he could handle, I will make the Day of Judgment easy for you. So there are good people on the Day of Judgment. There are some, and then there are some other people, right, who will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they will beg, Ya Allah, Ya Rab, please send us back. We will give you the earth and everything in it. And Allah will respond to these people, and when you were alive, I asked you for way less than that. Right? There will be people on the Day of Judgment who they will be shown their deeds, and they will see a mountain of deeds. They can't believe how many great deeds they have. And then one by one, their deeds will deteriorate. Their deeds will be blown away. For one reason, or for 2 reasons. One, either the deed that they did lacked sincerity, or it did not follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So these were deeds that ended up losing the barakah because they weren't done correctly. And then there are deeds that we will have on the Day of Judgment, and then people will come and they will take their deeds from us. Why? Because we used to backbite. We used to slander these people. Remember, this is the day of justice. This is the day of recompense. This is the day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives everybody their due and their justice. So if you're out here and you're backbiting someone, or you're slandering someone, or you're saying terrible things about them, these people Allah will allow to come and take from your hasanah on the Day of Judgment. And if you run out of hasanah, then they can dump their sayyat on you. Why? Because you used to talk bad about them, or you used to say horrible things about them. We have to look out for each other, right? And then there's another individual on the Day of Judgment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. He will have one good deed, only one good deed. And someone will come to him and say, please, I just need one good deed, just one hasanah, please, and then I can make it. And the man says to himself, well, I'm probably not going to make it, I'm probably not going to go, I only have one hasanah. He will give away his hasanah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, no one is going to be more merciful than me on the Day of Judgment. Right? And He will give this man Jannah because he gave away that one hasanah in someone's dire need. So, there are a lot of amazing stories. What about when we're in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When we're in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know that we are first going to be asked about our salah. So please, Muslims, please, all of us, get on your salah if you're not doing it. Lock it down. That is the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about. And He will look through your salah and He will see if you missed any. And then if there are some salah that you prayed that had defects in them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will use the sunnah that you prayed to fix those defects. So it's important to also pray your sunnah. And we also know what? That every day that you manage to pray all the sunnah for that day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a palace built for you in Jannah. So pray the sunnah. It's to your benefit. Right? So then on that day, think about this, right? There's a narration by Imam Ahmed who says that if you have any missing salah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closes your books. There's no point in talking about anything else after that. This is how important the salah is. Get your salah in. And Allah will ask you about how you made your money, how you spent your money. He will ask you about how you spent your time and what you did with it. He will ask you about every minute detail of your life. The day that you screamed at your mother, or the day that you said something that you thought was little and minuscule. These are the things that could break us. Right? And then if you lie to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you lie to Him, and you tell Him that, if Allah asks you a question about, how you made your money, say, oh yeah, Rabb, I did the halal, I worked, I did things that got me my money, right, that were halal. Allah will order your mouth to be sealed. And then He will have your hands and your limbs speak on behalf of you. And they will tell the truth about you. They will say, no, he used to sell khanzir, or he used to, sell haram products, or he used to steal things and then sell it to people. He used to do all of these terrible things. Your body will begin to betray you because Allah ordered it to do so. But then there's an individual, subhanallah, and this is an encouragement for us. There's an individual on the Day of Judgment who is before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's hearing all of his bad deeds. Every last one of them. And he's hearing them one by one, and he's sitting there and he's confirming everything. But there are some things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not brought up yet. And then Allah will say, do you find these things to be truthful? And the man will say, yes, my Lord, but there are some things that you left out. And so it says that Allah will come to as if He's right over his ear. And He will say, there are some things that you did that I have wiped out, forgotten them, removed them for you, because you used to when you heard bad things about people, or you heard other things about people, you guarded them. You didn't spread the gossip. You didn't spread the news. You kept their secrets for them. And so I will keep yours on this day. I will not embarrass you on this day. I will not judge you for those things. And He will admit this man into Jannah. So please, brothers and sisters, whenever you hear things, don't be the source of gossip. Don't be the source of spreading things. Keep these things to yourself, if you can. But then we also know about the individuals, right, to teach us about sincerity. We know about the individuals on that day who will come before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will say, Ya Rabb, I gave charity in your name. Right? So much going on in the world today, right? I gave charity in your name. And Allah will say to them, no, you did not. You gave charity, so people will say that so-and-so is wealthy and rich, and look how good he is, mashallah. He gives charity to so many people. And so Allah will say, and you got that. You got the praises that you were searching for, but now drag him on his face to Jahannam. And this person will be dragged on his face to Jahannam for his lack of sincerity. And then there's another individual on the Day of Judgment who will say, Ya Rabb, I fought jihad, I gave my life in service of you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. And Allah will say, La, you did not. You did it so that people will say you are brave and you're this awesome warrior. And Allah will order him to be dragged on his face into Jahannam. And then the one who we're all possibly subjected to. So inshallah we have sincerity. Is the individual who said, Ya Allah, I learned this deen, I learned Quran, I recited it for your sake, Ya Rabbil Alameen. And Allah will say, no, you did not. You did it so that people will say, oh, mashallah, look how knowledgeable he is. Look how well he reads. Mashallah, look at this. And he will be dragged on his face into Jahannam because the deed was not done in sincerity. There are individuals who skipped out on paying their zakat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have the wealth of these individuals melted down on the day of judgment so that their flanks, their arms, their legs, their sides, their backs can be branded with the wealth that they refuse to give and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in zakat. On the day of judgment, this will happen to these people. And if they owned livestock like cows or things like that, then Allah will order that these animals trample them on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have an individual who spent his money, he either took riba or he spent his money in interest. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angels, will take this individual and say, go, fight your Lord. They'll give him weapons, go fight your Lord. The idea is not that they're going to fight Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like, who can beat Allah? No one can. It's a suicide mission, more or less. Right? This is how, and we know, right? I said this the last time that we had our meeting on Friday, is that one of the things that Allah said He will be at war with an individual over is their dealings with interest. So many things. This is the day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with every single thing. Everything. All of this murder, death that's happening in the world today. These people have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these leaders who are mercilessly murdering Muslims in their own countries, they have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this day. All of the terrible things that a child may have said to their parents, or the disrespect that they may have said to their parents, they have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this day. All the money that we may have made that was haram, all the things that we may have done that was haram, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forget any of it. But Allah is also fair. All the khair you have done, all the good you have done, all the small little goods that you probably forgot, and you just did it out of the kindness of your heart, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will see those things on the day of judgment, and they are mountains. That one penny that you gave to the masjid, it's a mountain on the day of judgment. This is the day that Allah goes over every single human being with the fine-tooth comb, and He does not miss anything. He will find you. He will find what you're hiding. He will expose everything on this day. And it is real. It is real, just as real as a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday, or a Thursday, or any other day that we live. This day is just as real. And it's a long, hard, treacherous, rough day. 50,000 years long this day is said to be. SubhanAllah. One of the stresses, and then we'll end with this, we didn't even get to go over everything, but one of the stresses, and we will end with this, is that I used to be a security guard. I worked downtown, and we had to stand 4 or 5 hours at one post. And I remember after my shifts, my feet would be so tired, my legs would be so tired, and I'm thinking, SubhanAllah, the day of judgment, you might have to wait 10 years just to be seen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You might have to wait a few months just to be seen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Talking about the lines in the DMV or anywhere we go where there's long lines, we're talking about lines that seem to be infinitely long. And you're waiting, and it's stressful, it's hot, the sun's beating on you, everybody's close to you, everybody's chattering, everybody's scared. This is the reality of that day. Don't take it lightly. Take it seriously, because it's coming, and it's literally there. Inshallah, we are all prepared. Inshallah, we are all ready. Start putting away for the akhirah. Start putting away so that you can be one of those individuals that gets into Jannah easily, inshallah. And then we can live it up. We can have fun. We can enjoy our time, inshallah. Thank you everyone for listening. Have a beautiful day. Remember to still social distance. We're still in that battle, that fight, inshallah. And enjoy the rest of your day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.